the minstrel says as he slaps me.
Can you hear? Fairgain, are you certain the Nif return?
I open my eyes and see that I am in darkness, except for the dim light of Torian's orange lantern. I'm still in the dream.
All right, Jogar. Maybe kick him over, eh? Jab him with your axe? That will rouse him.
The hunchback grunts merrily and approaches before I call out.
No, I'm awake, I'm up.
Your wits were a wander, little stranger. For a time we thought you regressed back to slept well.
Weredrake says in a whimsical, musical way that immediately pisses me off.
We were all able to squeeze through the portal and seal it before any of those creatures made it in.
Fairgain says.
Do you think you can still show us where you found the Brood's doom?
Lead you?
I said I didn't come this way.
Jogar grimaces and whispers something to Torian. I touch my hands to my chin, waiting for the bird to catch up.
Enough. Come and let us see what can be done,
Torian says, gesturing for me to get up. We walk down many tunnels and rough-cut corridors that seem to go on for miles. I try to close my eyes, but the trick does not seem to work, and the rock remains solid.
So,
Weredrake says quietly as he places his hand on my shoulder near to the bird, yet not so near that it scares it off.
Where is your earth, Scrimlander?
I say nothing, worried about putting myself in further danger. He smiles and leans in closer to me as we walk.
For Torian not to have read your face is quite unique. For you to have retained your head so long is also unprecedented.
I don't have any earth,
I say.
I never had any. I have no idea what people even mean.
You,
he whispers slowly into my ear,
look familiar to me.
My mind instantly recalls the red-coated figure I had seen in a long-past dream and this minstrel's scarlet garb.
I am the oldest of all the right chain, and I have seen your face long ago. I am sure of it.
The others move faster as we talk, and we soon find ourselves with more privacy. The tunnel through which we had tread slowly declines, but remains reasonably straight. Occasionally, the passageway comes to a fork or an open area before branching out. At these points, Torian stops moving and goes into a trance as if remembering something a long while off, before eventually stepping off confidently into a new direction. Although nervous, the point man's machine-like coolness reassures me that he must always be correct.
What is earth, anyway?
I ask the minstrel.
Ekarinal,
he whispers, avoiding translation.
It is the end and the outset.
Sure, whatever that means.
You hide something from us,
says the minstrel.
Tell me, why are we here?
These gold charms must be read.
No,
he interrupts, his face showing the tension of the muscles beneath.
Why am I here?
Come, catch up,
Torian calls. Finally, we walk into the chamber, its many sides pulling the details of a previous dream into my mind. The great polygon is now drained of any liquid on the ground. Although the effect of the water's presence is evident everywhere by the etchings on the floors and walls, the room is now dry. I wonder if it was evaporated or drained down into the hole on the floor. Either way, it left a record, a wound, that testified to the element's corrosive powers.
Yes, this is the place,
I say.
I found one!
The hunchback yells, his long hair pouring out of the sides of his upturned mask. He bends over and pinches something from in between the joints in the stone. All but Torian, who stands still gazing ahead, move closer to see this find. The hunchback has indeed found one. A little golden oval, crafted into a face so small it's difficult to hold without blocking one's view of it. Elegantly carved, the face has a beard that flows into 3 points, an obvious companion to the collection I'd already...
I told you!
I say as I scurry over to examine it more closely.
So you did?
Says the minstrel.
There are more,
calls Fairgain as she moves ahead of us. Miraculously, several charms are visible on the floor, catching the dim light from the opening above. I reach down to pick one up. It is the same, yet more detailed and heavier than it seemed to be in the normal, real world.
These must have fallen out of the chest as I ran,
I say.
The door leads to a vast hall. This other door leads to a stairwell rising to the surface.
They follow the golden breadcrumbs right to the whole door. A large graven face in its center smiles at me. I try to lift the handle, but it is frozen. I gesture to the door, and Torian shoves his shoulder into it. His efforts open the portal, but a small amount. Jogar steps forward with a grin, peeking through his long, matted hair. He takes a few steps back and runs into the door, staving it to splinters. Then he walks through with a chuckle, but as the rest of us make our way through, he begins to yelp and bounce on one foot. "Zeke!" he yells. I look over to the minstrel and raise an eyebrow. The small bird catches up with us and lands on my shoulder again.
Splinters!
The minstrel says.
That will teach you not to wear your boots, Slateface.
To my surprise, light pours down on me from above the inner court. The earthen ceiling that I remembered from before has collapsed, leaving piles of soil and rubble on the hex-tiled floor.
This is where you found it. The Brood's doom.
Yes, but the altar has been buried under all this. Who knows how many more lie beneath?
I answer, as the minstrel walks into the hall.
Much older than I recall it. Many songs since then I have forgotten, yet this hall I remember. The extempore, or so it was known.
He wanders over to where the altar was and finds the remnants of a great wall carving behind it, its supplicants still offering up their earth.
Extempore?
I repeat as a question.
That word the bird spoke to you,
He says with a weighty pause,
is mysterious to me. Some deep meanings, even flyers cannot construe.
The bird's deciphering becomes unusually jumpy and intermittent. Some of the minstrel's words go untranslated completely until he finds at last a suitable choice of words.
Another way to say, this place is abuzz with magical thinking.
Torian seems uninterested in the conversation and immediately aims his lantern out of the hole and back to the 16-sided chamber. We all follow close behind until we enter another doorway. Fortunately, the spiraling staircase going up into the air still exists, circumnavigating the bottle-shaped hollow. Above, the swirling clouds of the mountain can be seen, twirling around the peak. Torian reaches the stairs and repairs upwards. We follow. As I climb, the staircase seems to double back. Above us, fossilized ramparts and crenellation emerge from the walls, half hidden, half excavated. We slowly and carefully sidestep up the stairs, at all times nervously aware of the crumbling stone and the unmerciful height. At last, we arrive at the ledge, the walls surrounding us inlaid with carved, eroded faces that seem to spell, beware. Occasionally, small slits for arrows can be seen, many of them still clogged with dirt from whatever avalanche had buried them in the past. But there is another door. It is an old, moldering, and rotten entrance, the wood barely retaining its original form. I look at Torian next to me, and with a shove, both of us push it in. The portal leads into a roofless chamber. Immediately, the warm, spicy smell rushes into my nose. Several startled birds flutter away at our intrusion as we climb over the debris. Even the little bird I rely on flies off into some niche.
Talut aram nadream, scalad thastak, helen tun carthagus, daba, thalem, harkelen, wendeske.
Torian says quietly. We are in a great polygon-shaped court again, but this one is open to the sky with a colonnade ribbing the outside of the balconies. Clinging to the stone grows many leafy green vines that almost seem to hold the ruin together. In the center are several dozen thrones of different sizes and styles, arranged in a circle somewhat haphazardly, As everyone else shuffles in, I walk to the edge to have a look around. Wow. There, I discover a panoramic view of the entire land. A vista, from the towering slopes to the cluster of woods, from the jagged cliffs to the hooked stone fingers jutting far into the sea. All lay spread out in magnificence before me. I am completely in awe as I finally can see the overall shape of the country. Behind us, the mountain is glaring and throwing our shadows out over the balustrades, seemingly leaping to their deaths. Looking forward, at last, I can see the almost circular shape of the land, illuminated as if at sunrise. How big it is! The shoreline from left to right is covered in rocky jetties, one after the other. The entire coast bristles as a saw blade, a line of prongs circling the entire island. And it is an island, for surrounding it all is the great rusty sea, churning around the sickle-shaped piers. However scudded the sea might be truly from this distance, it displays a calm that is amazing to behold. The whole island is reminiscent of a small galaxy with its arms spiraling out in every direction. As I take in the landscape, the mountain seems pleased and thunders behind us, throwing out a greater radiance and a burst of wind that flutters my garments. It has an effect on the distant waves as well. Ripples from the sky travel along an unseen watery dome above, and finally dash downwards to the shoreline, crashing against the cliffs in rhythmic breaking waves. All this, I realize, all this has grown from here. What was a lonely keep on a rock so long ago, nearly devoured by the sea, has become glorious totality. But how?
The mountain acts strange.
Orel says with the aid of my feathered friend now sitting on Fairgain's shoulder. At that moment, I understand what Clyde said to me once. The symbol on my chest, my logo, or rather his. Hearken the way and the form. I laughed to myself. His riddle was not outlandish at all, but picturesque. A play on words. It is a floor plan, a simple map, and its name is Hearken. Riddlesbrood's symbol is but the cartographic expression of this entire place. I look for landmarks everywhere and find them. To my right, there are swamps with 3 large lakes. To my left, 3 rivers merge from the sea and run towards the mountain's base. The 3 Tynes. The headlands around the island are hooked, just as a sigil on our company's letterhead. Be it god or graphic designer, our logo has become a land. We all seem awestruck when someone says,
Behold, a stone throne, and before it, holes on the floor.
Yes, these hollows appear meant to receive something. Something tall.
Fairgain says. The throne is unlike any seat I have ever seen. High, bar stool-ish and thin, a helm of slate. And in front of it is a strange ornate archway reminiscent of a theater's proscenium. There are also other thrones, 20 or 30 of them. The stone banisters also have frequent gaps in them, and in these niches appear ruined wooden objects so decayed that they are unrecognizable. But I remember that once this place was overgrown. I have been here before.
What were they?
I asked before receiving a low growl from Jogar as a response.
Ballista. Castle defenses, most likely large ones, to defend the gates.
Orel says. Against what? There is a small bronze container shaped similarly to a flower box set on the floor. For some reason, I decide to put the faces into it. The rest follow suit. At once, the small faces leap into the air, filling the nook between the arch as if there was a magnetic attraction to them. They hover there and begin to glow. The faces hang together in rows and columns that immediately remind me of an audience. but more specifically the gate. The portcullis I had half glimpsed during all those shows. That cage behind which Riddlesbrood's presence often dwelt. What is this? I look down into the trough and notice that small chips of rock are trembling. I begin to feel the tremor in my feet when suddenly the ground starts to shake. The mountain rumbles in a steady manner that I have never felt before. There is a constant vibration. The mortarless blocks of the structure flex gracefully while the whole stone floor jitters, almost numbing my legs.
Sit down,
I say to the others, who surprisingly obey. I then reach out and touch one of the faces in the air, disturbing its floating but a little. At this, they all shiver in the void and pulsate as if attached to an invisible fabric. A golden scintillation sparks between them and the thrones shake again. The horizon is also changing, shifting in an indescribable way.
What's going on?
I ask.
We're turning!
Fairgain says.
The castle?
No, the hole! Harkin moves.
Torian returns. True. I look over the edge to see that the entire island is beginning to rotate counterclockwise, which is evident by the clouds staying in their place. I touch another face. This time the ground shakes so violently that we all fall out of our chairs and back to our feet. The assortment of thrones and high-backed chairs tumble together into a tightly packed pile. We are now moving in the other direction. At least, that is what I think. But when I scrutinize the shoreline out over the banisters, I see it move independently of the land, like a chainsaw blade rotating around the entire land, scathing the waves.
Stop it! Drunshun, Alasaka, Akhagraga!
Fairgain yells as her birds panic in the air around her. Jogar and Torian whisper to each other as they steady themselves. The minstrel, however, exhibits a childlike exuberance.
I can't stop. I have no idea what I'm doing.
I say as I lose my balance and lean into the arch to keep myself aright.
You're missing Gorbrin.
Says the minstrel.
What?
Gorbrin. Missing letters.
What are you talking about?
I yell. Yet, I notice that the sounds of the rumbling have died down and the birds have come back down to perch again.
In the stories,
The minstrel finishes.
you need them all. All the names in the Brood's Doom.
Just take them out! Take them out of the air! Grab them!
Fairgain says. I try, but the only result is another earthquake, followed by a succession of tidal waves breaking over the coasts in the distance. The convulsions are not unnoticed by the wildlife, for flocks of birds fly away from the shores and away from the violent waters. For some reason, a strange thing comes into my mind. The old dinner theater by the sea where I had worked years before. Somehow, the jetties and surf remind me of the place, and no sooner than I thought of it, the peak roars into activity with a repeated booming. A percussion deep inside the mountain. All reality seems to quiver. I turn back to desperately grab the charms out of the arch, but to no avail. They push back with equal force, and my contact ultimately activates them, giving them unknown instructions. They are so shiny, I can almost see myself in them, but looking between them, I think I can make out an image, a stage. The shaking continues, and one of the old wooden ballista tips over the perch and down the mountain. Smoke from a campfire far in the distance begins to swirl into a wide helix as it rises into the sky. I tumble and hit my head on the stone, grabbing my temple to feel a new bruise.
We're moving forward,
I say.
There is no forward, only the wall of sea. We will drown in the scrim!
Fairgain says. Leagues away in the distance, the coasts are beaten by swells and counterswells. The earth-tone waters before the island ripple and roll as if gods were blowing on a bowl of water. When I squint, I make out small black dots scurrying around the rocks like ants, though what they are I cannot imagine. Suddenly, the mountain chugs and erupts into a rhythm, like a bull drawing breath, combusting, driving the land into the waves. The sky becomes super cosmic. Riotous dark clouds bunch up, clearing ahead of us and building up behind us. Waves over our heads are exposed by the retreating clouds. A great sky sea that makes me dizzy to even observe it. The light from the mountain twinkles off the ripples miles overhead, a surface of water that was barely even seen before, miles above, like an aurora borealis. All of us are mesmerized by the lights shimmering in all different colors. The sea, more black now than ever, glistens like obsidian, its facets equal to prisms reflecting every hue from the mountain.
The Old One shall hunt us down. We have disturbed the balance.
Something new is happening.
Fairgain says, staring ahead. The minstrel points to the right, where part of the sea is changing color. First, it is a lighter shade of gray. Then, as it grows, shifts back to brown. After a moment or two, the patch swells like a bruise on the face of the waters, a bloating contusion, and then boom! It is an explosion in the water. After the dreadful noise, a blast of air shoots out toward us. We tumble over and hang on, barely able to breathe.
Whoa!
The hunchback shouts as he shuffles toward the railing. A small whirlpool opens where the bruise had been, growing larger and larger, and pulling the entire island toward it. As it lightens, the hole opens further, the ochre deeps pouring in from all around. Struggling to see in, I can discern the hole's interior is black, but it seems hopeless now. As it draws us closer, the entire land is listing towards it. Strangely, some red clouds enter into our world from this drain, floating upwards and mingling with our own. A sound like distant seagulls can be heard before I see tiny white birds flying out of the hole. In the dimness, I see something in the center of the void. It is open wider. Now the gap is the size of a large lake. The swirling too stops, and the waves pour into it like water surging over a dam undone. The dim light of the mountain shines through and illuminates the vast oval maw devouring half of the sky. Inside the hole, a building, or rather the roof of a building, comes obliquely into view. It is a small island, square in shape, and in the center is a large gray Victorian mansion. The light glistening off of the windows of its wraparound porches.
We shall be swallowed!
Our landmass tilts into the hole, draining out and into this other place. Its gravity, oriented differently than ours, has us thrusting toward it from above.
Hold fast!
Torian yells. Instinctively, I touch another charm, and the prongs begin to rotate again, chewing the surf like a flattened water wheel. When the tips of the hooks pass into the hole, seawater cascades down onto the mansion ahead. As if the two islands had different physics, the torrential rain bursts forward onto the building. I know I can recognize the place now. That we are halfway into the hole. The entire land is tipping down at the front, the balance point almost reached. It is the theater by the sea, or some semblance of it, and soon we shall drop right down to meet it.
Or else, where are you?
Torian calls out.
Take a breath. I'm not dead yet.
She says from behind a large stone.
What do we do, Torian?
We watch.
Oh, that I had a song for this!
Everyone with weapons drops them and holds on, grabbing onto the thrones as fast as they can. The entire land tips over and falls forward. The teeth of the shore are spinning, ready to dig. Fairgain screams as the fall takes what seems like several minutes. This truly is falling off the edge of the world. A bright burst of red light shines from the impact, followed by a tectonic blast. A collision of worlds has occurred. The teeth of our jetties dig deep and cut into our opponent, chewing and throwing earth in all directions. Amber waters flood in, washing away, crumbling the ground with every pass of the saw. Our edge is hitting them from above and ripping into them like a stump grinder. After a few moments, we slice off an entire side of their land, yet leave the building mostly intact.
Hasten! You must set it right!
Fairgain screams. I begin touching golden faces randomly, and the rotation stops, bouncing us off the other side of the island and down past it. Finally, the two land masses seem to synchronize, their planes now identically oriented. They bob up and down like bath toys. The victimized landmass bounces a few times off our left coast before disappearing into the darkness. We slide past it, and the mountain eventually blocks our view of it behind us. We churn on in this manner for a few moments. Eventually, the waters take on their familiar brown hue. The winds stop, the waves settle, and the clouds slowly move back into their normal place. Even the mountain Carthagus, which had been pumping so rhythmically, slows and eventually stops altogether, returning to its normal radiance. The coastline is little changed, and the altercation seems to have had no negative effects upon us. The gold faces instantly dim and fall from the arch by themselves, clinking into the trough like a metal rain. What the hell happened?
Show's over,
The minstrel says. We look over the edge of the balcony to see the seas filled with flotsam, driftwood, and general untidiness that remain from the attack. Semblant of a chunky soup, the sea has become a puke chowder that churns and mixes into a leathery brown horizon. Other particles are floating like pumice after a volcanic eruption, including people, figures swimming around in a panic after being thrown overboard by the battle. We had chopped right into that world and knocked off a slice.
Wash-ups at the cliffs! Make haste!
Torian commands.
They shall renounce their trove or be slain!
They all begin to run back down the way we came. All but me. I continue to stand there, overlooking the whole of what they call Harkin. As I take in the expansive view, I think to myself, they say no man is an island, perhaps they're wrong. I close my eyes and feel the strong winds blow through me. It is a comfortable feeling, almost like falling asleep. I might have done just that had I not heard the knocking. A fist was pounding at the half-open window next to me.
Hey, we're here. Time to wake up.
I open my eyes to see a windshield in front of me and slowly focus my vision on the actors bringing equipment into the back doors of a banquet room. The vehicle rocked back and forth a few times as someone removed something heavy from the back. I sat up suddenly, causing the seatbelt to tighten painfully and stop my motion. I grabbed my shoulder and stared at Ozzy, rather bewildered.
Where am I?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe the show?
I was disoriented, and it took me a few moments of blank staring to bring myself around.
I said I would drive, bud, but I ain't carrying everything in myself.
Ozzy said with a roll of his eyes as he stepped away from the truck.
Hey, and you too. Drop that damn ukulele and start helping, for once.
Hey, this might be random, but, you're an asshole.
Craig replied, scrunching up his face. The dream had been so long, so real, and I had entirely forgotten where I was. I unhooked the seatbelt and slipped out of the vehicle, feeling a bit light on my feet. I have to get my shit together. After that portentous vision, I realized that the latent potentialities of my ambitions were far too important to leave to chance. I immediately recognized that, through some inadvertence, I had learned an uncontestable truth. Harkin was not merely a static land, but a vessel. It was a craft that could be steered into battle, and when victorious, it could grow by predation. Theater apparently could be weaponized. Dreams were not only creation, but annihilation as well. I could not deny that the dream had a profound effect on the world around me. Soon after it, actors from the old theater by the sea began to call up looking for work. I hired some of them, the ones with real talent. The phones were ringing with more business as well, and at the same time rumors reached me that the other dinner theater was suffering. Their shows, it was said, had become less frequent and descended into poor quality. News seemed to be moving in a positive direction, at least for us. Is it possible? Is it true? 1 month later, I was sitting at my desk at home making some modifications to my innovative script. The air was filled with my son's laughter and the smell of chocolate chip cookies my wife was baking. I took a quick sip of water before looking over from my computer to see my boy lying on his back, batting at some little stars in his playpen. I jumped from my chair, sprinted over to him, and began tickling his waist, eliciting an abundance of giggles. That is when I heard another knock, a knock at the back door.
Can you get that, hon?
My wife asked as the timer went off on the oven.
Sure.
I said. I made my way toward the kitchen with a smile, wondering if it was some delivery I had ordered for the upcoming show. When I opened the door, I was surprised to see my father standing there, with 2 bags at his feet. We stood there, looking at each other for a few moments before my wife moved next to me. My father said only 2 words. I left.